Good afternoon, YouTube. It's Tire Metalhead Weatherman. We have finally made it into May, and it is that time of year. May is historically our most active month in severe weather, and we are starting out just that way. We have we have a, not ongoing, but we have a severe weather event expected today with an enhanced risk. We have another enhanced risk tomorrow with an increasing tornado threat, and then we have a slight risk on Tuesday. A lot to cover here, but I'll be happy to go over all of this with you guys. Before I really get into it here, I do hope that you guys like what I'm doing. If you do, let me know. Give me some feedback. Drop a comment. Drop me a like. Share it. Share my videos if you think other people might want to hear about this information. And subscribe as well. Trying to get the word out to more people. But let's get into it here. So, Tornado Watch probably just got issued a few minutes ago, because this wasn't here a few seconds ago when I looked at it. I was honestly expecting them to put a severe thunderstorm watch based off the meso discussion, but I didn't get to read all of it either. And as you can see on the convective outlooks here, if we look at severe, we have our enhanced risk for today, which you can obviously see. It's extended a little bit further out to the east. This includes Abilene now. And this slight risk is now including Waco and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Meanwhile, over towards the eastern half of the country, we have a slight risk now that includes Virginia and North Carolina. And now the marginal risk goes all the way from the Gulf Coast, extends east towards the Atlantic coast, and pushes all the way to the Great Lakes. Areas included Mobile, Atlanta, Columbus, Charlotte, Columbia, South Carolina. All of West Virginia, you're in play now. Eastern half of Ohio, and a lot of the same areas that I had mentioned yesterday, like Pittsburgh, you're still in this. So let's take a look at Monday's threat as well. Main threat for tonight that just in case you guys may have forgotten from the last video I posted, the threat looks to be more of a hail threat. There is a tornado threat. There's a 5% tornado threat for tonight. In fact, we'll take a quick look at it. Here's our tornado threat. It's 5% chance of tornadoes, pretty much for anybody that's in the enhanced risk. Then in the marginal and slight risk, you have a 2% chance. Wind threat is really impressive towards southern Texas, around Fort Stockton. You'll have to watch that real close. And then right around our slight risk area to the east, towards Roanoke and Richmond, and just to the north of Raleigh, wind threats increased there. Our hail threat is really impressive. This is where our enhanced risk is really, this is what our enhanced risk is really for. And even around most of the slight risk, we have a hatched risk now, which means we have a 15 to 30% chance of seeing 2-inch or greater hail in diameter. So let's go to day 2 again. Day 2 I'm a bit more concerned about due to the simple fact that our upper level low, which I had mentioned yesterday, is going to be right here where our storm's going to be right here. So there's going to be a lot more wind shear for these storms to access, leading to a greater tornado threat. So basically anyone in this enhanced risk, you might want to take a little bit extra care tomorrow. Take the warnings maybe a little bit more seriously. Don't play around and try to see how it all unfolds, because that could cost you dearly. So let's move forward. So let's take a look at the hail threat here. No surprise that with there being as much wind shear and as much Gulf moisture as there is available, which we took a look at yesterday, it does not surprise me that the hail threat is so high around this area. And then the wind threat, no surprise there, pretty high. All hazards are likely with this. And then we have now a significant tornado threat as well, pretty much for everybody in the enhanced risk region. This is pretty much from Wichita all the way to Fort Sill in Oklahoma. Tulsa, you're in there as well. Oklahoma City and Norman, you're in it as well. So basically there is a 10% chance of a EF2 or greater tornado hitting within 25 miles of a given point. We'll mainly be going over these days. We'll try to see if we can get a sneak peek into Tuesday. I'm going to be using the NAM because the HRRR isn't really picking up anything for this, which has been kind of weird. I mean, I don't know what it is about the short range models lately, but they're just not seeming to really perform up to par. Just kind of frustrating, to be honest. I was going to do a video with the HRRR earlier, but it's just kind of wacky right now, and it's kind of frustrating, to be honest. But we'll talk about day 3 briefly, and we have a slight risk for Bowling Green, Louisville, Cincinnati, and maybe Jackson as well. This area could shrink or increase in size, so we'll have to watch a little bit closely. So in the marginal risk, we have Indianapolis. I got family in Springfield. You guys are in this as well. Columbus, you're in there. Nashville, Jackson, and Memphis, Tennessee, you're in there, and Little Rock as well. So these are the main days I'm going to be trying to look at real close. But I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about Wednesday and Thursday's threat, and then days 6 through 8 we have no area, so we'll talk about these threats more tomorrow, and we'll kind of get a little bit more in depth with that. Right now we're gonna take a look at the reflectivity, kind of get an idea of what the radar could look like tonight. This is a little bit out of date. The NAM doesn't update as often as the HRRR, which is normally why I prefer the HRRR, but when it's not working, it's just not working. So right now, we have a line of storm that's rolling through this area right here, right now, HRRR. The NAM isn't really picking up on it, and we just now are starting to see some supercellular activity forming up around here in the southernmost parts of Texas right now. So we'll be watching those real close. Here's our upper level low that's going to be causing the severe weather outbreak tomorrow, and the heightened tornado threat. So we'll move this forward a little bit here. Watch our low, and we watch these storms pop up as supercells, relatively isolated mode. It's pretty solid lapse rates. Good instability, even though the temperatures aren't really that impressive around this area that I've selected. But we're mainly picking up on a supercell match, and as well we have a hail match. Our Cape values are really impressive. We're sitting around the 3,000 joules per kilogram mark. And I'm also watching this little area here. I don't expect there to be too much in the way of severe weather, but these do look impressive. I do think a pulse severe storm is possible around this region. Also want to mention there was a little bit of convection around here, so we'll have to watch this close as well. Then off to the east, there is actually a marginal tornado threat that this thing's picked up on. It's mostly going to be a linear mode, but you can get an embedded tornado, a quick spin up in there possibly, in areas of North Carolina and Virginia tonight. So we'll have to watch that real close. And then where our warm front's forming, I'm watching these storms over here towards the panhandle of Texas really close. Mainly it's going to be for hail. So it looks like we have some pretty significant hail. This one's picking up on a sounding of 2 3/4 inch hail. Could do a lot of damage to your car. This is about golf ball size, maybe a little bit, actually softball size, to be honest with you. It's a pretty big deal. Hopefully you guys have a carport around here to put your car under, so that way you don't receive massive dents in your car, or maybe even a cracked windshield, because hail this size will definitely do it. So move this further and further ahead. Right around southern Texas, where we were looking at that heightened damaging wind threat, we do look like we have a little line segment with a bow echo, and there's also a tornado threat with this. Wow. Some impressive instability. There's good instability here. Capes are still around the 2,700 mark, more than sufficient enough. This curve's a little bit elongated, but it's definitely a curve in the hordeograph, so there is some potential for tornadic activity. There is some pretty solid wind shear here. It's not the most impressive thing I've seen, but it's definitely more than sufficient enough to produce. The question is, will the storm take advantage of that environment and be able to drop a quick tornado? And also, your areas south of the border, you might want to watch this too. So the tornado threat decreases around this area. And then I'm looking to see what this storm will do here. I'm definitely thinking this is a hail threat. Yep, it's marginal severe. Kind of has a weird setup to it. We'll look right down here as well one more time. Yep, and there's our tornado threat once more. NAM's kind of gone with more of a tornado threat, whereas yesterday when I looked at the Euro, it was kind of a bit more conservative on it. But we do have good surface base shear here based off these wind barbs. Because look at how they're turning down at the lower level. And as we go higher up, there's still some turning, but it's not as impressive as what I'm expecting to see tomorrow. Meanwhile, on the backside of this low pressure here, we're getting plenty of snow for the Rocky Mountains, especially towards the higher elevations. And then oh wow, we've gone very far. Way too far. So come Monday morning, we have a MCS that's going to be going through Oklahoma. This could either inhibit thunderstorm development or create a boundary for thunderstorm development to increase. If this clears out early enough in the day and we get some daytime heating around here, this environment, I expect it to become very volatile. And I think that's what the Storm Prediction Center is expecting to have happen. We'll have to watch this really closely. This is going to be definitely one of those nowcast situations. And then off towards the north of this upper level low, past the warm front, the mountainous regions and towards western Nebraska, we're expecting some moderate to heavy snow actually. So I'm trying to see if there's any chance of thunder snow. A little bit too far north for that. Daggone it, this thing does not want to work with me today, does it? So we'll move this forward here. And we're probably going to be looking towards the late evening hours, and there we go. There's a little bit of a line of storms forming here ahead of the right on the dry line or just ahead of it, and there we go. There's our tornado threat. Instability is good. Moisture is good. Very impressive low-level shear. That seems to be a big characteristic with this upper level low. It's a low-level shear, especially with how close the upper level low is. This doesn't really surprise me much. So let's move this on ahead here. Okay, so we are okay. I was trying to make sure it was right because this thing's been acting really wacky right now. So I'm definitely thinking a little bit further to the east. This tornado, when we get a little further to the east, this tornado threat might dwindle a little bit, but not right. But I guess not, because we still have the hazard type as tornado on this cell here that I've clicked on. Lapse rate's really high, so I'm surprised that we aren't getting a significant hail match yet. I do think this will change. So everything else looks good, but I do see a little bit of a downtick in the wind shear here. So I'm thinking definitely around here is where the tornado threat's going to be highest. So then, probably into the overnight, the damaging wind threat really picks up. Tornado threat will start to diminish. I just keep on clicking the sounding. I'm not used to having this kind of stuff to look at, so it's kind of satisfying, not gonna lie. And then Tuesday, I'm looking really closely around here, and there's our line of storms starting to develop there. And there is and lo and behold, another marginal tornado threat. I do think damaging straight line winds will be the main hazard, but that's just a vivid reminder for anybody to not to not sleep on the tornado threat. And even then, damaging straight line winds when you get up to that 70-mile-per-hour mark and plus, that's practically the same as a small tornado. So you guys need to be careful around the Ohio Valley on Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening. Then as this upper level low approaches, the threat is going to start to diminish. We're on a little bit more of the northern end of this thing. We just kind of start to lose some of those dynamics. And into the overnight hours, I see this is an interesting little feature here. Nice little line of thunderstorms that form up in West Virginia. You guys have been getting walloped a lot too, actually. I will go on a limb and say that. And then, oh wow. I don't know if I missed something or not as far as the Tuesday threat, but on the southern end of this towards Little Rock, or maybe I'm just not thinking about it right now, but there's a tornado threat there as well. Temperatures are really warm around West Virginia as well, so definitely looking like a severe threat. Definitely looking like some hail too. Has a little bit of a curve here, so there's not a 0% chance of tornadoes around there. So we'll move this further along. And once we get a little further north, we kind of lose our dynamics. Also going to look a little bit closer at North Carolina. Doesn't look like we have anything. And this is far out really as I can look towards the overnight. I'll take one more look at this storm in Tennessee, if I can. Nope. Wait. My computer's acting up. Wait. No, it's not. Guess I can't take a look that far out on the sounding, which is kind of annoying. Let's take a look at the low-level jet here real quick. I was kind of debating on whether or not I should continue the video. So I kind of showed you a lot here. We're sitting at about 17 minutes. I'll show you a little bit more. Then we'll just call it a day. We'll get into greater detail tomorrow. So we're just waiting for this to load up. So we'll lower this loop speed, and here's our low-level jet really starting to pick up. Sunday, that was really starting to pick up late into the evening tonight. Not super impressive, so that's what's limiting our tornado threat. Come tomorrow, though, this low-level jet picks up all throughout the day and really starts to uptick into the overnight hours. This looks like it has a nocturnal tornado threat look to it as well, which is really alarming. And then on Tuesday, it's very sneaky how this thing pops up late into the evening once again. And further to the south, it looks like. No? Actually, it's further to the east. I was kind of expecting a little bit more. Oh, there it goes. Right towards the mid-morning to the late into the overnight and into the early morning hours, it starts to pick up again. But we're towards the end of the model run at that point. And then this MCS is going to maybe set an additional boundary Wednesday for more storms around Oklahoma and Texas once again, which is our next enhanced risk as of right now. But that's really all I got for you guys. There's no real need to talk about the Cape. We talked about it yesterday. It's pretty high. Pretty much for every day. It's like literally the dew points in the Cape. Like we'll just watch them go up. We watch the values go up and down almost like waves. So we'll just have to watch this real close. That's it for tonight. That's all I got for you. And this has been Ty, Metalhead Weatherman. We will have another video tomorrow talking about Wednesday's threat a little bit more closely, and Thursdays as well. But you guys have a good rest of the weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.